And we are live. Welcome back to Beyond the 90, ladies and gentlemen, where Leicester have just beaten by this feels like the skin of their teeth, Brighton in the FA Cup to take them through to the quarterfinals 1-0. We've got Alex with us, and we've also got Paul from LCFC family. So welcome to the show, Paul. Thank you for joining in the first time. Just over to you first of all. What are your thoughts on the match?
I thought we got out of jail, really. I thought Brighton were probably the better side, had the better chances, but you have to take your chances when they arrive. So I'm just delighted we're through to the sixth round. The only sort of bad downside was the injury to James Justin, which looks like a bad one.
Yes,
that's really unfortunate.
Yes, and it's something that me and Alex were talking about just pre-match to this, about injuries and how much we were playing. But just over to you, Alex, as well. What are your thoughts on the game as well?
I think we got lucky. I think Brighton were the better team. We were very lucky in the last minute with the Nacho header. But I think the biggest highlight of today's game is losing James Justin, because that is an injury, and that is a player that we did not want to lose. And I think this is going to be something that's going to be talked about. And I don't think it's going to be good moving forward. That's a huge, player and a huge spot in the starting lineup that's now missing.
Yeah, I totally agree in terms of it. I was going to come on to that in a second, but I think it probably is a good time to move on to it, because as soon as he went down, I've not had my head in my hands like that since the Vardy went off against West Ham last year, and it was such a disappointment that happened. But it looks, just over to you, Paul, it looks like a bit of a bad one, to be honest. It doesn't look like a good injury, and he might be out for a while.
Yeah, exactly. If you go off on a stretcher, it's not good, is it, normally? So, it's. I was talking to somebody before the game saying, why are we not playing Ricky P, giving him some more game time? And apparently it's because we've got no cover on that side that they didn't want to risk him against Liverpool because of their wing backs, and we need to be really focused and tight on Saturday. But now we've lost probably the most, the player who can play on either the left or the right just as well. And it looks like he's going to be out for a considerable time, which is really, really bad. But, you make decisions and you live by them, and it's one of those things. But I just wonder, the pitch is very old, and I know they want to replace it, and we're having a lot of injuries that are just non-contact injuries, and players are, going out for games, and we're missing them. And I just wonder whether we've left the pitch a bit too long and should have changed it, in the summer of last year, but probably couldn't because of the timescales in terms of the turnaround of the season. And it's haunting us. And it's really bad. Really, really sad to see that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't actually think about the pitch for too much. However, if you look at the likes of, I don't know how many injuries we've had at home. For example, the match against Stoke with Dennis Pratt, obviously a long-term injury that was away from home. But I can see your point, and it obviously is a player that me and Alex, we've been talking about for such a long time, and we've been heaping praise on him this season. Just how well he's been playing in the development, and he was looking at one of our players of the season when even already he was coming to the end of the season. So
left or right, he's just as comfortable on the left or the right. Talent like that is just exceptional.
Yes, and it's really annoying that this has happened. However, we're just hoping it's not too bad an injury, because the way he fell on it and the way that he went, as soon as he went down, even though I didn't see that up close afterwards, James Justin never goes down like that unless he was truly injured, and you just knew that this time, Alex, this was going to be a tough one to handle.
Yeah, as soon as he went down, I was concerned. One thing, like you just mentioned, James Justin, when he goes down, he's always back up. So the fact that he stayed down and then the stretcher came out it's a killer. Because, me and you, we've both been discussing this, on how, we've been praising Justin on how incredible his season has been. Because in my complete honesty, I think that he is the most improved player and the best player for Leicester City this year. And not only that, but I really think he was going to have a chance to play on the England squad. I think Southgate was really considering him, and to have all this, he's been just incredible this season, and just to have this kind of injury happen at this point of the season when he really is just at the top of his game is just it's heartbreaking. That's the best way to put it, because he's an up and coming kid. The versatility in his play, and he can play anywhere around the pitch, is just something that you really don't see nowadays. And just to see this type of injury happen, it really is heartbreaking, because he's been the heart and soul of this team this year. And just to see that happen, and really we don't know how long it could be. We could be fortunate where it could be just a minor sting, but the way he went down, and like I said, you bring out the stretcher, those types of situations, I don't think it's a short recovery. I think we're looking at much longer, and that's a killer, and that's just a blow to the entire team.
Yeah, it's a real shame as well. And I just want to, since we're on this bad run, I'd rather get the bad news kind of out of the way early, but then we can concentrate on the first half. Not first half, just got distracted by a comment. Some of the other things that they were saying. Another injury was to Ayoze Perez as well. And that one was, he was going for the ball. He didn't look like he pulled out of the challenge, Paul. But again, he probably will miss a couple of games just from this injury as well, because he tried to run it off and it just didn't seem like it was working this time.
No, that's the chance where the goalkeeper sort of scooped it up with his hands and he just followed through. Yeah. I mean, a lot of Leicester City fans will say, "Well, we won't miss it," because for some reason he seems to be the one who's taking a lot of flack at the minute from a lot of LCFC fans. But he does a lot of things off the ball. And what I find, and sometimes I'm annoyed by, when you're not there, you're watching football on a television, you only see a fraction of what's going on. And when I'm there in the stands, you can see players running off the ball and other things that you don't see. And he's a clever player. And okay, there was one or two times today where he got caught in possession. Perhaps he wasn't thinking quick enough to release the ball, or perhaps he was ahead of the people that he was expecting them to run and they didn't run, and then when he got the ball, he didn't know what to do. I don't know, but that's kind of sad. We don't have a big squad, so if we lose players, with the fixtures coming thick and fast, and we've got the European games coming up, we need everybody fit that can be fit, because it's a squad game and they'll all contribute in some way. He will score goals. He can score goals. We know that. He scored 3 last season, a hat-trick against Southampton. He had a period when he was with Newcastle where he scored 12 goals in about 15 games. He can score goals, and he's a clever player. There's not many Spanish players who are not technically very clever.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And hopefully it won't be too much of an injury. Again, as Mad Jason says, I do love Ayoze, but he does get a lot of hate. And even when he slipped in the first half, towards the end of the first half, I was thinking it was a genuine slip, but I knew the fan base was going to get on because it was something that, again, I was just predicting that was going to happen. But again, I'm hoping them to make the quickest and speediest recoveries, because I think there's a reason why he keeps getting in a Brendan Rodgers team. And game in, game out, and the reason why Brendan Rodgers trusts him, even though a lot of fans don't say so. One player I want to bring it on to, again, our newcomer to this, Daley Campbell, because again today we were all looking at him. I personally thought he was going to play in the back three and Justin was going to play on the right, but he actually trusted him to play on the right today. And just over to you, Alex, what did you think of Daley Campbell's performance today?
I loved his performance. I think he did exceptional. That was one thing that, I was kind of keeping an eye on, see what he was going to be able to do. And, I was pleasantly surprised. But that's what you want out of your younger players. You're giving them the opportunity to play, and if they're going to deliver, that's perfect. And, we talk about this having squad depth, and I think allowing under 23 or under 23s to come out and play, and really get game time and the experience with the squad is perfect, because you need that squad depth. And I think we're talking about it today. You have both Perez and Justin possibly being out for a few weeks. Justin long term, but that means you're going to need these players to step up. And in order to do so, they're going to need game time. So, no, I think he played a great game.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And in that position, obviously, there's lots of fullbacks in terms of for competition, in terms of when Castagna comes back, and Ricardo obviously have just come back to fitness. But he's definitely one for the future. Daly Campbell is definitely one for the future, Paul. And today, on his first appearance into the first team, I know there wasn't a lot of standout performances today, but I think he was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think the back 3/5 played well. We were pretty solid all game. Although we weren't brilliant, you didn't feel as though Brighton were going to score, but you didn't feel like we were going to score either. So, I think all the defenders played relatively well. And it's great that we've got players coming through from the academy, which is, absolutely terrific, because you're saving heaps of money in the transfer market. And we're developing real talent. Harvey Barnes, he's a terrific talent that will only get better. And I don't know if you know, but my son works at the academy. He's a coach there. And he's seen some of these players coming through. It's really rewarding to see that they invest in the youth and develop them. And if they're good enough, they'll get a chance. People are taking the opportunity. We've got some really good talent. And there are other teams in the league that don't do those sort of things and just buy people for loads of money.
Yes, especially towards the top of the table, even though we are there at the moment. However, it's obviously been a working plan since the King Power takeover came on. This has been something that they've done not since the beginning, but towards the latter stage when we came into the Premier League. They were especially pushing this talent and putting these things in place. I heard on BT Sports as well today that they said Daly Campbell signed because Brendan Rodgers had a 90-minute conversation with him and basically insisted that he was going to sign, which was a really interesting thing. Just an update. James says, thank you for the comment, James. James said Rodgers said James Justice was stretched off as a precaution and the defender is putting weight on his leg and walking about the dressing room. Again, so thank you for the comments and the update live. Again, yes, we can only wish for the good things today, because again, at the time, it did look horrific, and we just wish, hopefully, he recovers. Again, he might be a precaution for the Liverpool game. He'll probably be taken out. However, we'll have to see. Again, one player that, again, gets a lot of stick, as we were saying, is Kelechi Iheanacho. Exactly. So some people would say that he's not good enough to be in the squad. But today, the fact that he was took off by Brendan, that Vardy was took off and he was put in place, I think shows real quality. And the fact that he was in that position at the last minute, even though he's been playing for 30 minutes, was really, really important just to get that header, Alex, because again, it's put us through. And another on a similar note as well, it saves us going in extra time. And if we're doing 2 extra 15 minutes, it means that we're not, again, it could have been another couple of injuries, because you see these players at extra time normally get cramp and stiffen up, and that could have been another thing conceded, another injury conceded. So again, Nacho deserves a lot of credit, not just for the way he took his goal, but also for not causing potentially any more injuries.
Yeah, no, I think he gave it his all, and I think one of the main things that I even saw with Nacho today was the offside, the offside call when underscored. Just like the amount of effort that Nacho put into that play there. He managed to kick the ball while he was sitting on the ground. He managed to really get that play going, and unfortunately, it was offside. But right there and then, I was like, oh, he's on today. And the fact that he scores in the last 10 seconds and he uses his head, that's been something that he's been seemingly been doing a lot of late. Not, he scored his last goal from a header, and this goal from a header, and it does. I think Glenn said it perfectly. It saves us from playing an extra time. And we've discussed this before. The whole idea of asset management. You want to make sure that all your players are kept up and in shape, and not overdoing it. So having winning it in the actual you're not requiring any extra time is fantastic, because as you said, it's a cold day. They've already been running around for 90 plus minutes at this point. Easy slip up here and there. You're dealing with another injury, and we've both mentioned that February is just absolutely insane for games. So hats off to Nacho, because he really delivered it, and we get to move forward, which is great, and he's saved everyone's legs for a little bit longer.
Yes, and it's a really, probably, if we come to the end of the season, this might be a defining moment in, again, maybe we're overstating at the time, but just the last minute goal, the fact that we're through to the last 8 again. Anna said we're going to Wembley, so already I think from the Leicester City, from BBC Radio Leicester, they're saying Sue's Barmy Army, it's slowly coming true, which is really good to hear. Again, it's something that we were talking about as well pre-match, is the fact that there's a whole squad now, and also some of the injuries that's there today. But overall performance, Paul, nobody really got going today. There was a couple of, again, Daley Campbell was a good example. Tillemans was okay, and Diddy had a relatively off game as well, which is really unsurprising by his high standards. But overall, there wasn't too many people that again, the squad just didn't gel together, and didn't seem to be that cohesion. Is that just down to the way that Brighton set up, or do you think that's just down to the amount of substitution or the amount of changes we made today?
I think there's a bit of both, really. I think it's tough for a back line who haven't really played together before, and you're missing Casper, you're missing Evans, who do all the calling, shouting, organising in the defence. So that there was a completely different back 3, back 5, or whatever, and there didn't seem to be. There was more of a link when Maddison came on. There didn't seem to be the link in the field to get the ball away and then to turn and move quickly. Seemed to lack pace a bit. It was a bit slow, a bit predictable, the build-up. Probably missed Barnes, to be honest. So yeah, because I was thinking, who would my man of the match be? And I really couldn't call out anybody. It was just a gritty team performance in the end that got us over the line. And I'm old school, so the FA Cup to me is very precious. I remember watching it in '69 when we got beat, and I'd just love us to get to Wembley again, because I think we got a real decent chance. We've beaten Man City, Liverpool are out; they're our Achilles heel. We can go toe to toe with Man United, so who's there to fear? I don't know.
Yeah, we will have to see, because again, I think in the next round, I think Everton are still playing at time of recording. I think they are ahead of Tottenham, so that's another team out. Man City are through as well. But again, we know how to play against them, as we won 5-2. So that will be interesting to see. But yeah, I think there is, again, as you were saying, just over to Maddison as well. So obviously the 3 substitutions that came on were Nacho, Hamza, and Maddison. And again, them 3 substitutions were vital to the way that, in my opinion, Alex, to the way we played today. Because again, Hamza was as a player that was underrated, obviously coming in, but in my opinion, he had a better game than Ndidi did today, and he showed what it was, his heart and his courage, and he really wanted to go for some as well. But I just want to bring it on to Maddison as well, because today, as soon as he came on, he was looking for the ball through, and he said, right, I'm going to take responsibility and let's play some football, because he's kind of stepped up into this management almost position in front, going, right, I've got the ball, who wants it? Because he was doing some beautiful touches with the likes of Daley Campbell, Under, and Iheanacho for the offside goal as well.
Yeah, Maddison really has taken the quarterback role, and today I think I really saw it. He really, he came on and he was like, okay, what are we going to do? let's get this goal, let's win this game. And I think that's what you really need. You're seeing these younger players really take leadership roles, and I've really seen it, especially over the last season or season and a half, that Madison really has leadership qualities that you want in a player at his age. You have him, you have Tielemans that is another. I would think Tielemans is more of a quiet leader, but he's a leader. But the way that Madison came on today and really just directed the whole play is key. And like you said, he was quite important in the entire time that he was on the field. And then I gotta give a great shout out to Chowdhury, because I think he really has this newfound drive. I think Rodgers really giving him the opportunity to play is something that I think really is going to push him forward to be the best player that he can be, because beforehand he really wasn't getting any time, he wasn't getting on the bench, and then there was that possible move to Newcastle, and then when that all fell through, it really looks like Rodgers was like, okay, I'm going to play you more. And I think that really gave him that extra boost of confidence, being like, okay, I'm going to get the opportunity to play. So whenever I do have that opportunity, I'm going to give it 120%. And today he brought it. And I think you're going to start seeing, these players that have been fighting to even get on the bench, that when they do get the opportunity to play, they're going to, give it that 120%, because they're all fighting to get spots now. I think this is what you want with that depth, and we talk about, the possibility of losing Perez for a few weeks or Justin for a few weeks, or if longer, but you have all these younger players coming up being like, okay, I'm given this opportunity, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to push as hard as I can to really, start stressing out those players that are getting, starting lineup opportunities all the time. I want that position. So I think Hasman's really doing that job there, and awesome to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's again, Paul, I think this comes down to really good man management from Brendan Rodgers as well, obviously with the likes of Hamza Chowdhury, and how before he looked a bit, obviously he had the game against Aston Villa where he looked a bit disinterested, but now he's come back into the team and he's got a point to prove. And today, I think we all want him to do well, obviously coming through the academy, being a Loughborough boy as well. Now he's been given the opportunity. And again, the fact that we're taking Wilfred and Ndidi off for 60 minutes and giving Hamza 30, I mean, that must be a boost to him as well. So you're going to finish the game and hopefully bring us on to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when kind of it was muted that Rodgers might come to Leicester, I was thinking, he's a manager who's got a real brain. He wants to get inside everybody's brain, find out what makes them tick, and he talks to players. He won't just leave you out and not tell you why he's not left you out. Some managers just leave you out and you can't go and talk to them to say, well, why am I not playing? He explains things to people before they happen, and then when he makes the decision, they know the reason why. So they're not getting sort of, frustrated or whatever. They know they're part of the squad, but he's doing that, and he's very, very clever with what he does. And you see that right the way through the age groups. He likes to be involved with the youngsters as well, see what's coming up, see what might be coming through the under-23s and possibly into the first team. Whereas there's been some other managers before who would never be, they've trained the first team, but the academy, not interested, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think he's, we've seen right the way through his career, the way he plays football, and usually it's quite attractive, although today it wasn't so. It's about grinding out the result. But Swansea and Liverpool and his early career at Chelsea, he's very keen on developing people, getting inside their head, finding out what makes them tick, and everybody's got different sort of points that you can press, and that makes them, spring alive. And he finds that out in all the players and gets the very best out of, everybody. But you've got to work hard for him. You've got to work really hard all the time.
Yes, and
there was a fascinating podcast with him with Graham Hunter. Did you hear that?
is that the one with Robbie Savage as well?
No, it's just Graham Hunter from Spain about his philosophy and things like that, and it was quite an interesting podcast. There was 2 or 3 of them, I think, and I think one day he'd like to go to Spain and coach. But his philosophy in terms of the way he plays football, I think a lot of Leicester fans like that way. We like to play. We like to be entertained. We like to watch nice football. So yeah, he's a top coach.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think, I don't know about that one, but I watched one, I think, with Robbie Savage, and I can't remember the other person, but it was called Football Skills or something. And he's talking about, I don't know if he talked about it in the same podcast where he talks about silver medalists. I don't know if he mentioned that mentality and how a gold medalist is somebody at the prime. A silver medalist is kind of what Leicester go for, somebody that's not quite hit their peak or has been rejected by another club. And it's that kind of same ilk of player that they're going for. But just coming back to the match again today, obviously Maddison did some good stuff as well, but there wasn't really a lot to talk about. Obviously coming into half time with not really 0 shots on target for both times. It was a bit, to be fair, obviously we're very happy that we won the match in the last minute. However, there wasn't really a lot to talk about. Alex, have you got anything else? Because one player that I wanted to mention as well, just before we kind of wrap up here, Cengiz Under today, because this was his opportunity. We've said this before, to shine. With Harvey Barnes doing so well, there isn't really a chance you could give him to get in the team. And a lot of the fans have been asking for him to come into the team. Now, with the likes of Under coming in, he didn't really impress today, to be perfectly honest. And I'm a big fan of Under, and I think he can do good stuff for the club. However, he might just need a bit more time, because at times today there were some great spells of him, but it just didn't click today.
No, it didn't. And that's, I'm a big fan of Under myself. And, we talk about this idea that, maybe he needs a little bit more time to adapt to, English football. But we're past the halfway point of the season, So there is cause for concern. I don't think, I'm kind of like with you on this one. He didn't really deliver it for me. He was there, but it wasn't anything impressive. So, we talk about, we want to see more of this, and we're kind of wondering, will he adapt? As I said, we're about halfway through the season at this point. We're over halfway point of the season, and he's still not there. Now, everyone's kind of talking about, well, do we sign him because we have the option to buy, or do we just let him go? And I think that's going to be a conversation that I really think is going to happen, and is going to be ongoing until a decision is finally made, because I think regarding Leicester City fans, I think there's 2 sides of this, where you have that one side that is like, yes, give him the opportunity, give him the time to play, and let's see what he can do. And there's the other side that are very much like, he's good, but he's just not good for English football. So there's this weird divide right now, I think, with Under and what's going on with him. I really hope that he is given more opportunity, but I don't think you're going to knock Brighton and Perez out of the lineup at this point. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
And that's the thing, because if that's going to happen, then there's no point of, at the end of the loan deal to buy him.
Yes, and I think we pushed for a loan deal rather than they wanted to sell us. And it's a good point from Ant as well. Brighton's gives everything that Under does an interim of work off the ball, which is important for the team in Brendan Rodgers. So over to you, Paul. This is the issue we're having. Brighton always finds himself coming back into teams. I know he didn't play against Wolves, and he didn't play again today. However, he's changed his game. Before he used to get his head down and whip the ball in. Now he's got different skills to his game. So I think it's good to have competition. However, I think there's only a few players to choose from at the moment in terms of what's happening, because again, there's so many wingers at the moment, and the strength and depth that we have across the board is something to really shout about, especially in this game.
Yeah, Rodgers likes his players to work hard, going forward and coming back. You know, if we're led to believe what we've seen in the local papers or whatever, then you know, perhaps that defensive side of the game is something that under needs to work on. All Brighton's got that. You know, he's not a pretty player. He won't excite me when he gets the ball. I don't stand up or anything like that. But he's solid and he's reliable. Very rarely beats his man, but he doesn't need to. He'll put a cross in. You know, he's a bit like Steve Guppy. I don't know if you ever saw Steve Guppy play. Very rarely beat his man, but boy, could he put a cross in. He put it on a sixpence. But yeah, old Brighton has decided he wants to stay in the team, and I'll run back, I'll chase back, I'll tackle, I'll cover for the fullback going forward. I'll stay back and things like that. But that's what Rodgers likes. And you know, in most games, particularly in the Premier League, you've got to have players like that. You can't have luxury players. And I think Rodgers thinks perhaps that Barnes is a bit of a luxury player, and he can't play Barnes and Under together because that's just too much. So he has to have one that's a solid, reliable, you know, he'll get back and cover whatever, and the other one can go and. But yeah, Under had a chance today, but he didn't really, you know, he scored a goal that was offside, but there wasn't anything. He had a shot over the bar, but nothing really exciting, you know, that we're still looking for the Riyad Mahrez replacement.
Yes, and that's always going to be the case, I think. But the chances, obviously, getting a play like that for 400k is obviously the fan base have been treated to such an amazing talent, and that will we ever get there? We'll have to see. We've got Wesley Fofana, and he looks obviously a different position, but again, a young, brilliant player. And again, we could talk about this all night in terms of players that could come in, but again, overall in the squad, there's definitely there's some positions there that there's two or even compared to the title-winning team, for the team that they've got a backup that's actually very decent, and we're more than happy at the moment. So I think we'll leave it here, unless there's anything else you want to end on, Alex, because today there wasn't, again, as I was saying, there wasn't really a lot to talk about.
No, you know, I think you can take the positives that we won. We're moving forward. That's great news. You know, I think there is a little bit of positive news going forward that, you know, maybe the James Justin injury isn't as bad as it seems. You know, and I think we just can keep pushing. You know, I think we are exceeding expectations this season. And I don't think we expected to get this far, or I don't think we expected to be where we are in the Prem. So, you know, I think just keep riding this wave and just see what happens. You know, I think I'm still very fortunate, very proud of Leicester City to be in the Prem, because there's days that I'm like, we're actually here. So, you know, I think just take it day by day and enjoy it. And, you know, we take on Liverpool on Saturday. So, you know, let's just continue on and stay positive, and, you know, let's get ready for Liverpool on Saturday.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing that I've just forgot, that I've just remembered, I even put it in the title, which I forgot. We've scored from a corner. And I know yes, it's something that I've completely skipped my mind until now, Paul. For some reason, I think we were so concentrated on the injuries and the situation there. But what are your thoughts? I mean, it was a quick corner, a great corner. We ended up scoring from a header, and it's just not something that you expected today. But that's something to. It's almost like Ranieri when we had the clean sheet. It's something to break out the pizzas, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it was bizarre because there was just Inacho was there, and there was about 5 defenders around him, and they all couldn't, like, froze, you know. And he put it away brilliantly, just as he did before at Fulham. You know, he's a very good header of the ball, and you know, when he gets a chance in the box like that, 9 times out of 10 he'll score it. It's kind of sad that he'll probably be on the subs bench on Saturday. You know, how you deal with that as a striker, I don't know, because you score a goal, you think, I'm going to be in the team the next game or whatever. But yeah, that was terrific. It took me by total, because I thought, oh, here we go, corner. You know, I'll go and I'll go to the fridge and get a glass of milk or something, you know.
I was just about to extend this because I was going to push it back because I thought it was probably going to go to penalties. I was going to push it back to about 10 o'clock, and then half an hour. I was like, okay, quick, let's adjust it a bit more. But yeah, I'd like to thank both of you for joining me once again. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Where can the people find you?
I've got a Twitter account called LCFC Family, and I've got a website called www.lcfcfamily.co.uk. It's just a kind of a thing that I started up a long time ago and then kind of revamped it during the first lockdown because I was bored. And you know, just like interacting with other Leicester City fans. Really miss going down to the KP, so this is great. You live in Canada, do you, Alex?
I do indeed. Yeah, just outside of Toronto.
All right, I've been there about 3 or 4 times. Lovely city. Yeah, be great to get travelling somewhere soon.
Oh, very much.
Great to be able to watch Leicester City in Europe, but that seems a way up at the minute, doesn't it? Sadly. But yeah, really enjoyed it, guys. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming on. And Alex, obviously LCFC Canada, and I'll make sure to include Paul's link for his Twitter and his website down in the description. So thank you once again for joining. And let's move on to, again, just on a small one. Now just a small job against Liverpool. They watch out for the wounded animal, and that's exactly what it was last time we played them away. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and your comments, and make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody for the Liverpool preview. So goodbye.
Thank you.